I'd like to call this meeting of the City of Elkhorn Architectural Review Board and City Planning Commission to order. It's Friday, November 22nd, 2024 at 4:30 p.m. Will you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Wetke,
Here.
Hunter, Stockel,
Here.
Boardman,
Here.
Geeslin,
Here.
Meinel,
Here.
Schroeder.
Here. We've got the minutes of the November 7th, 2024 meeting.
Move to be approved.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any corrections or questions on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes pass. We've got Rob Stibnitz and Daryl Matthews for American Truck Center LLC, 501 East Centralia Street, for a conditional use permit, a public hearing, and a recommendation. We'll open the public hearing here. I've got to read this notice. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Planning Commission of the City of Elkhorn on November 22nd, 2024 at 4:30 or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard in the council chambers, city administration offices, 311 Seymour Court, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, for the purpose of hearing all interested parties, their attorneys or agents, with respect to the application submitted by Rob Stiblitz, American Truck Center LLC, for the conditional use permit to allow for a truck maintenance and towing company located at 501 East Centralia Street. The property is more precisely identified by the following tax parcel YVSE00009J. Is there anyone here for public comment? I'll ask again. Anyone care to speak? Public hearing is closed. And who's got this? Are you, Allison, you're up?
Yeah, I can take this one. So the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the operations of a truck maintenance and towing company located at 501 East Centralia Street. The building is already existing. Most of the infrastructure, the gravel parking is all existing. This property is currently zoned M2 General Manufacturing District with a land use plan of industrial. And I think they would just like to be able to operate their business here. They were approved back in August by the city council to be a part of the city's towing rotation. And then in October, the applicant was approved to be on the Walworth County towing rotation. So it was just kind of a technicality that we breezed past the conditional use portion of it. So when they came in for their occupancy, we had asked if they could apply for this, and they did right away.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, or do you have any comments or anything you'd like to make?
She did exactly.
Okay.
What went on? What was?
All right. Did you see the conditions that staff has recommended? There's a pretty healthy list of them here. I just want to make sure there's not a surprise in there.
Yeah, I'd be happy to go over those as well if you'd like. So the project should be developed in accordance with the plan of operations. Tires, machinery, vehicle parts, junk, wrecked, dismantled vehicles should not be stored outdoors and should be behind that fenced-in area. Dumpsters should be fully enclosed if there are any, and be in compliance with our screening requirements. Outdoor storage or parking of vehicles, semi-trucks, trailers shall always be on a hard surface, never on grass. Adequate loading areas shall be provided so that any vehicles loading or maneuvering are completely off public ways, and so that you don't need to back items up into the public street or right-of-way. The operation shall not locate, store, discharge, or permit the discharge of any treated, untreated, or inadequately treated liquid, gaseous, or solid materials of such nature, quantity, toxicity, obnoxiousness, or temperature that might run off, seep, percolate, wash, or be harmful to human, animal, plant, or aquatic life. And then you should provide any reimbursement to the city for all costs incurred for the review of this conditional use. The applicant is hereby agreeing to accept the conditions here tonight stated in this conditional use of approval. Again, junked vehicles may not remain on site for more than 90 consecutive days. Property owner is responsible for placing a knockbox on site and for coordinating access with the Elkhorn Fire Department. Property shall not be permitted to add any new gravel areas. Existing gravel should remain, but shall be converted to asphalt, concrete, or other similar approved surface per City of Elkhorn ordinances. Property owner is responsible for obtaining all necessary building and zoning permits. Property owner shall be required to submit signage plans for approval if new signage is being added, and should comply with all lighting requirements.
Is that your understanding? Okay,
Nothing's
great.
gonna change as it is, what you have there is what's already there.
Yeah, I'd like to make one comment.
Sure, Daryl.
The other half of that building is Superior Construction, and we are gonna have gravel there because he has track equipment he's bringing in and out, and he'd tear up the blacktop if we didn't. That gravel's been there for 35 years.
Okay.
It's compacted pretty good, and there's no.
Yes, and just no new gravel. All existing gravel can remain as is.
Okay.
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Is that with recommendations then?
Yeah, it's a recommendation to go to council.
Right. Yes.
I guess I've had with the conditions that were listed.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes to send it on to council. So, there you go.
Thank you.
And that will come up at our, will that be at our fifth, the next council meeting, when it's the second? Will it be on there? Is that enough time to post it?
When's the next meeting? December 2nd? Yeah, I can get it on there.
You can get it on, so that's,
Yeah.
that's when it'll be voted on. Probably come to that meeting.
Right, our second item is Preston Gardner from Palmer Hamilton, Aaron E. Cook, 143 South Jackson Street. A site plan amendment, temporary gravel parking, discussion and possible recommendation. Allison?
Yes, so while we're on the topic of gravel parking, new gravel is not permitted in the city of Elkhorn. This plan came before you maybe a couple of months ago, month or two ago, and they were requesting to raise the existing structures on this parcel and create a parking area. You all approved that site plan, but because of the weather conditions, they unfortunately cannot get that paved yet this year. And so in efforts, because Palmer Hamilton has had significant issues with overflow staff parking on the street, in an effort to try and get some of those vehicles off the street and reduce the amount of complaints we're receiving about those vehicles, they're asking if they could put in this small temporary gravel parking just over the winter months until they're able to pick up on their project and put in their complete approved site plan. I wanted to bring it to Plan Commission for discussion and possible recommendation. As I stated, it's currently not permitted. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention and see if it's something you'd be willing to grant an extension on, or if we don't want to allow it.
Well, I have seen, the parking on the street, and they're a good company, they've been there for a while now. And I think if we can, as long as they know that come when the weather is suitable, that they've got to get the blacktop in,
Most asphalt plants shut down this week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right, I know that. So that's all I feel.
And I apologize, I don't want to bombard Naomi. I don't think she's seen this yet because it came to me right before the packet went out, but I would take any recommendations that she may have as well.
Do you know if they put in their detention basin yet? Did they get that in yet this year?
No,
They haven't?
no, no detention basin, and I believe the house is either about to come down or maybe just came down, but I have not been by yet.
Drove by today and it's still there.
Okay. So again, I would want this to be temporary, so if you are agreeable to it, I would recommend we set a date that the gravel needs to be removed by, if it's something we will allow. If not, we move on and I let the applicant know.
I think it should have a date of no later than June 1st. Because they start operating again in April, so.
I go along with that.
Yeah.
What date did you mention?
June 1st.
Yeah, temporary parking until June 1st, and it has to be paved.
See, is that your motion?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes to send that on to council. Oh, that doesn't go to council.
That one's done.
That's-
Nope,
It's
thank
final. We have a lot of authority in that regard. All right, general discussion items, an environmental corridor ordinance.
So this is one that both Adam and I can probably touch on. This is something he wanted me to add tonight. So our environmental corridor ordinance is not something we use very frequently, but we do have some environmental corridor areas throughout the city of Elkhorn. This is an area that's mapped by Sewer Pack. And there are areas that are maybe more wooded or have, wetlands or some natural features to the land. And so usually there are some special or more stringent requirements in terms of development within primary environmental corridors or secondary environmental corridors. I attached the ordinance to the packet for you as well, if you wanted to review that. But one thing we noted as we were going through our environmental corridor ordinance is the requirements are quite stringent when it comes to residential development. And so we are looking to potentially reduce that. So right now, if you can scroll to the ordinance, Matt, at all, in part of the environmental corridor ordinance, it lists a maximum density requirement. And I believe if residential housing is developed in the primary or secondary environmental corridor, right now our ordinance says that you can only do a maximum density of 5 acres per parcel in the primary environmental corridor and 2.5 acres in the secondary. Well, for a city, you don't really see lot sizes that large, 5 acres and 2.5 acres. So we're looking to potentially reduce that, and we just wanted to bring it to your attention. Am I missing anything?
I guess the only thing I'd say, once my microphone comes on, is that this partly came up because of, we're working with Cook property on a potential residential development there, and we discovered that a portion of that property's got this secondary environmental corridor on it. Oddly, we're kind of surprised that it shows up on that particular parcel because, earlier Allison talked about normally it's environmentally sensitive areas. A good chunk of that property is farmland, so it's kind of a little odd that they would have that on there. Maybe there's some drainage or something, but anyway, so that's part of the reason why it's coming up now. And our city attorney reached out to Sewer Pack to verify, and I know Allison had already talked to him, but to verify that the council does have authority to, and the planning commission, to regulate the zoning when it comes to the secondary environmental corridor. So you guys could potentially strike out the density requirements, for example. The only caveat is there's a few exceptions where generally speaking, you could build in the secondary environmental corridor areas. There's like 4 exceptions, but so our proposal would be to come back, have the city attorney revise this section, particularly strike out the density requirements, and make sure that our provisions mirror other communities. I know Allison think you said Walworth, I think. Was it Walworth or?
Yeah, Walworth, the Village of Fontana, Town of Lynn, they have some heavy environmental corridor areas that I've worked with. So we're gonna compare similar ordinances and the requirements and make sure that our ordinance is consistent with other communities in Walworth County.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Oh, you're thinking about reducing the lot size, how small would you go?
We
in
would
theory?
We would probably have them be consistent with our regular zoning ordinance. So when that parcel is platted out, each of the parcels will still need to meet our minimum lot requirements of the standard zoning district requirements, which is usually between 7,000 and 8,000 square feet. So they'd be significantly smaller than the 5 and 2.5 acres, but they would still be consistent with all other City of Elkhorn parcels.
Any further questions? Hearing none, we'll move on to Creekside Community Development Site Plan Update.
We are still actively working with Cardinal Engineering and Creekside Development. There were a couple of things that I added to the packet tonight just for discussion purposes. If we wanted to discuss or if you had any questions, and Matt and Naomi can touch base on this a little bit as well. But there were a few meetings last week with Creekside regarding their water main sizes, and we had FOLF get involved. Attached in your packet this evening is FOLF's memo outlining their recommendation for water main sizes. So I know Cardinal Engineering and Creekside, they were going to work on revising their plans, and then we're still just actively working through all of their civil engineering plans.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. In going through the review with both, we met with the fire chief and looked at fire flows that would be needed for if a structure fire was there. And both did a good job putting together a memo and looked at different scenarios, and it changed the water main sizing basically from an 8-inch to a 12-inch for the primary loop, and then the secondary loops would be going from an 8 to a 10. I had sent that memo to Creekside, Geronimi, shortly after I got it. I think they maybe handed it over on a Friday, and I sent it out on a Monday. And I hadn't heard back from Ryan, but I talked to Adam today, and he recently had a conversation with Paul Van Hinklem, and it didn't seem like from the conversation that they had any issues with upsizing the mains. They had some questions about connections from when it goes to public to private, but I have not yet talked to Paul about that. And I'll let Naomi speak to the other conversations that she's had today or since the last time that we spoke about their making headway on getting plans finalized.
Sure. Mike Timmers and I both have had conversations with Cardinal Engineering regarding the utility layout and site plan. The grading is pretty much ready to go. So the grading is looking good. We're still taking a look at the north access geometry and have some comments related to the vision triangle for that access, in which I talked to Ryan Cardinal today about.
So at this point, we did not put them on this evening just because there's so many moving parts to their project, but we're really hoping we can bring them back shortly here. Hopefully by the end of the year, we're gonna get them through. And we'll just keep working on it at a staff level and until we're absolutely sure on the project.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that? All right, we've got a upcoming meeting on December 5th at 6 p.m. Is there anything going on for the 19th? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility. I do have an item that could go. I just need to know if we'll have a quorum.
Okay. Typically, there's only one meeting in December, so it's up to the group here if they wanna have one, or if they'll have a quorum.
Well, if it was Creekside, you know, and it was the later meeting of the month, I think we should have it, just to keep that moving and, you know,
Yeah,
get them going again. So if it comes down to that, you know, I think we should have this.
Okay. The other agenda item that would be on December 19th would require a public hearing. So I would have to get that out shortly here. But there is a good chance and possibility that Creekside could potentially be on that 19th meeting as well. It just depends on how quickly we receive items back.
Is everybody available on the 19th?
Yes. Yep.
Well, it sounds like we're gonna have a meeting.
Okay, I will be in touch if anything changes.
Okay, great. Motion to adjourn,
So moved.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.